So I just want to, as an organisation of people and who work for people, wanting to take a moment to thank and recognise Laura, for whom...
I haven't quite gone yet.
No, I was about to say that Laura doesn't actually have a leaving date, but we do think, well, Laura thinks this is her last GA. So if it's okay, I'm just going to say a few words. For me, this is a very personal reflection. Laura's been in the IO since 2004, but she's been with PBI for a lot longer than that. But I can only really speak to my working relationship with her, which was from 2008. So we've worked together for 9 years. And for me, this really is the defining relationship of my professional life. Like, we have worked together on so many different aspects of PBI and with so many different people in the international office, but we have been there together through all of it. And I just want to recognize and appreciate all of the things that I have learned from you. Diplomacy, humanity, professionalism, your focus and dedication to the work. And yeah, that's meant a lot to me. And I've also, you might not know this, but I've also really enjoyed the fact that Laura and I regularly disagree. And we have very constructive disagreements. But for me, it kind of embodies what PBI is about, because those disagreements have always happened in a really supportive environment and with such respect and trust between us that I felt incredibly comfortable bringing things to Laura that I know that she would disagree with, and listening to Laura when she has things to say about how I might want to do something or what I might want to say. And so I also just want to recognize that PBI has really benefited from your knowledge, Laura, over all of the years, and the passion that you have for the organization and the experience that you have brought to the work that we've done in the international office, and all of the empathy with which you have carried out that work. And that for me has been inspirational. And so I really appreciate that. I just want to finish with a small anecdote, which is that, or just a small reflection, that one of the most enjoyable experiences I've had, and this is a little bit of a confession, that Laura and I put together what is now the organizational's operational planning process. And we did that, we use it every year, but she and I did that one night in Old Hall, and we did it with half a bottle of vodka. And that's now PBI's procedure. So yes, for me, it's been an incredibly rewarding experience. And I can only hope that, it's been half as rewarding for you, and that you've learned or have an appreciation for, I've brought something to your professional experience as well, beyond imparting a love of Excel, which I know you now have. And then I'd like to offer it if there's anyone else here who would like to share or offer an experience that they've had of working with Laura, because it goes far beyond the international office, as I said. Thank you.
Me acuerdo, ¿se escucha? Cuando estábamos en Utrecht, en una reunión de consejos, de consejo, porque solo había uno. Y tú eras la coordinadora de Colombia y yo la de Guate, con Liam Mahoney convenciéndonos para el tema de las contribuciones de los proyectos a la ISEC, que me acuerdo que el proyecto Colombia, como tenía un presupuesto súper grande, no contribuía con un porcentaje, sino con una cantidad. Y tú te fuiste ahí en tu mochila con la tarea ardua de convencer al Proyecto Colombia de aumentar la contribución. No me acuerdo si era de $50.000 a $75.000, ¿no? Y sí, me acuerdo de esa noche cerquita de aquí hace, pues, ¿cuántos años? ¿En el 2005? Sí, sí. Bueno, pues eso.
Well, I think I met Laura first in Medellin. I think that when she was the coordinator of the Medellin sub-team that's when I think we met. Anyway, my memory is that that's when we met. Was it before then? Anyway, it was a particularly dark and gloomy night. I remember it being quite a depressing night, and I think you were beginning to work Operación Jurídica Libertad, I think. So that's the memory. Is it not working?
Microphone.
So anyway, Laura's wrong. I met her in Medellin the first time. She says it's not true, but I think it is true. Anyway, I don't know if it's true or not. But that I just have a particular memory of it being a very dark day, very dark evening. It was actually very dark in the house as well. So I have this image of Laura emerging from darkness, which is a completely inappropriate a completely inappropriate image to have of her, because she's not. And I've subsequently worked with her in other areas, and I honestly I don't think that I've met or worked with somebody who's so sort of gently and quietly there, and always interested in expressing and offering what kind of gentle support is available without ever imposing it. And I really, really appreciate that. I'm sure other people recognise that that's true. But I think there's something that you all need to know about Laura, is that she is the world's best liar. We played a game once at her flat, and I will not remember the details because I never remember details, but one of her stories, we had to tell two stories that were true and one story that was true and two that were false. That's it. And I think Laura managed to convince us that she had once smuggled 2 snakes through customs in Beijing airport, and it was so convincing that we did decide that was the one she was telling the truth about, but I think it wasn't. So anyway, she is, as well as being transparent and honest, the world's best liar.
I met Laura in 2005, I think. Actually, virtually first. Hi, Laura. I'm over here. She had actually been a volunteer at the same time on the same team as my partner, so I kind of had heard stories about Laura. But I met her after the virtual contact was a result of me being a very eager volunteer, and alongside this other very eager volunteer from Nigeria. And we had written this proposal to the GA for the 2005 GA, straight from the Uraba sub-team, to start a gender and diversity working group. And Laura said, no, you cannot do that. It has to go through a very long process and protocol and la 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 la. And so she actually gave me my first lesson in like the complexity of the international decision-making system within PBI. And then she said, and you can also join a council or a committee if you want. And that was the beginning of it all. So, and then we met face-to-face, I think, actually in Colombia. Anyway, so I always remember the gender and diversity.
Laura and I overlapped briefly as volunteers in Colombia around about 2000. And I also remember in particular that a little bit later, when there was one council, the coordinator of one project had to represent all the projects. and Laura was representing all the projects when she was coordinator of the Columbia project. And I think everyone agreed eventually that this was mission impossible. I'm sure Laura agreed too.
In 2013, we were on our way as the first volunteers to the Kenya team. And it happened that we stopped at the international office to do a 3-4 day training. And I came in and just said hello to Laura. And I don't think we talked more than 2 minutes. But in this 2 minutes, she said to me that that we are trailblazer, starting a new project. And then she explained a bit about this trailblazing, what it is, because obviously English is not my first language, and it was like 90 seconds, 2 minutes, giving me encouragement, motivating me, in her, like you said, offering support. It was really beautiful. It gave me a lot of motivation.
I remember in 2013, it was my first face-to-face joining the IC, and we went to stay at this very interesting castle in the English countryside of communal living, and it was very out of the ordinary for me. And I just met PBI, which was a very different organisation from the ones I've previously worked with. And I remember gossiping with you on the train station on the way there and just talking about our lives, and I just found you so friendly and welcoming that it made the process of participating in the IC as someone outside the organisation that much easier. So I remember that fondly, and thank you for that.
Talking about gossip, it comes quite fitting that we were talking about all these issues of country groups and projects and all these conflicts, because we met in a quite interesting conflict, and that's how we bonded together, like after a huge conflict when you came to Guerrero, 2004, I guess, together with what was the fundraiser, Jane? No? So the two kind of British that were kind of like messing up the thing there in Guerrero, and what I remember is that what you were mentioning. No, I mean you guys know I like to talk most of the time, and then she was listening to me actually a lot and talking a lot as well, and we talk so much, like, I mean, to a degree, like in the bus from Chilpancingo to the FED and all that, like, and one of these situations that then in the next years we've been talking a lot, no, in the previous years, and then in the latest I kind of missed like the talking, no. So I'm probably, I mean, now that you leave PBI, maybe we can start to talk again somehow of thing. I don't know, but we need to find because I kind of miss the whole thing of, like, you know, like sitting in the bus and like, so yeah, and for me also, you've been always like kind of a central piece of my life in PBI. I mean, this is super obvious. I mean, even if in the last years we didn't really like talk that much, no, but was one of those persons that doesn't matter. I know if I find you in 10 years, we will start like blah, 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 blah. So no problem with that.
I won't go on too long because I feel like Jacqueline's already said a lot of the things that I would like to say about how nice it is to work with Laura. But I have to say, first of all, as one of the few people with an email address that contains their name in the MEP, Laura is like a mythological feature. And anytime I say anything about how I've done this with Laura, I've talked to Laura about that, they say, Laura Clarke? And at first I couldn't figure out why it was that everyone like really knew specifically who Laura Clarke was, but then I realized it's because your email address actually has your name in it instead of like international coordinator at PBI. But I have to say that when I started the MEP coordinator role and got to work in the office in London, I think one of the things that was the most useful to me, starting a totally new role and kind of stepping into the international sphere of PBI, was being able to have long chats with you where we'd turn around our seats and abandon our work for a few minutes and to understand the dynamics of the IOC and all of the international structure. That was really, really useful to me. And I'd really like everyone to raise their hand who's watched Laura's cat at one point or another.
Me too.
It's a very nice cat.
Watch the cat, yeah.
Nos han mandado unas fotos que me gustaría proyectar, pero estamos descargándolas. Entonces, mientras Polixeni me sigue apoyando con eso, pues yo agradecerte en el momento en que entré, ¿no? Todo ese apoyo. Pues soy consciente de que la Oficina Internacional estaba como muy preocupada en ese momento por el COP y creo que pues hemos recibido un apoyo fuerte de tu parte y de Jacqueline también. Entonces, por esa parte, gracias. Pues me han mandado alguna historia, alguna anécdota de cuando estabas en la Comunidad de Paz. Me dicen que dormíais en una bodega, en una cueva, ¿cierto? Que dormíais con mosquitera, que no era por los zancudos, sino por las ratas, para que no se metieran. Y que teníais como a muchas niñas encima de ustedes siempre, como intentando jugar, y que tú tenías dos favoritas, y al parecer es como esa foto que ha aparecido antes. Pues esa época era como bastante complicada en San José, creo que son esas dos niñas que aparecen ahí. Era como una época en la que no subía otro carro que no fuera el de Brigadas a la comunidad, porque era la época de la masacre de los choferes y pues bastante pesado en ese momento. Entonces, pues habiendo la gente que estamos ahora, en realidad en Colombia, como que admiramos mucho a las personas que estuvisteis en esa época, que incluye la de mucha gente que está aquí. No veo a Erika, pues James también, por ahí anda. Y bueno, pues agradeceros también por eso, ¿no? Que erais unos y unas valientes y nada, un abrazo súper fuerte desde Colombia.